play action. He twirls and runs out to the right, throws to the right, and he threw it right to Dallas Turner. And the rookie with his first interception has turned over the Seattle Seahawks. The Vikings have it at the Seattle 25. First and 10 from the Seattle 39. 3:58 to go. Seattle leads by 4 in the fourth quarter. Sam steps up. Sam throws left. Caught. Jefferson. Touchdown! Sam, the man on the fan, finds the moneymaker Justin Jefferson. And the Vikings have taken a 26-24 lead. Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison left, Justin Jefferson right. Tight end Josh Oliver to the left of Cam Robinson in his 99th game. Darnold back to pass to the end zone. Touchdown! Jordan Addison gets the first touchdown of the game, 18th of his career. Geno Smith trying to snap the Vikings winning streak. Back to pass, throws right, and that's it! Intercepted by Theo Jackson! And the Minnesota Vikings have won 8 consecutive games. They are 13-2, and Kevin O'Connell is the first coach in Minnesota Vikings history to have multiple 13-win seasons.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, happy holidays and welcome to Stimulation Overload Central. This is the Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth. It's PA in charge. The master mixer of the sound, Jared Wells, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Madden's street team is here to serve your every need. And Chad Greenway, we believe, will be joining us shortly. Paul Charchi and GuillotineLeagues.com, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm Paul Allen. As we prepare for this border battle this weekend, what's on your mind, Mr. Paul Charchi? And good morning.
Well, what's on my mind is trying not to look past the Packers because we want that opportunity to get the number 1 seed next week. I want to beat the Lions. But none of it matters if you trip up against the Packers, and this is a really, really good team. I think objectively the Packers have played better football than the Vikings over the past couple of weeks. They've obliterated their past several opponents. That doesn't mean they're a better team. They have faced opponents that have been in really weird situations, like Tua coming to Green Bay in frigid weather. The Niners visit with their backup quarterback. You know, and in their last game, the Saints had 7 offensive players on IR. You know, we really don't know, are the Green Bay Packers a very good team or just a good team? This is a big litmus test. Trying not to look past this one because I so much want that Lions game next week to be for the number 1 seed.
All right, well, are the Minnesota Vikings a good team or a very good team?
Well,
let's flip it.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I don't know that you get to this many wins, 13-2, correct? You get to 13-2 without being a very good team. I don't think this feels like a historic team, but this feels like a very good team. So many one-score wins that could have gone the other way, but have managed to go our way. And this is something that I think has now become emblematic of Kevin O'Connell, who is a very good head coach. No doubt about it.
Hey! You think he's going to win Coach of the Year?
Kevin O'Connell is going to win Coach of the Year in 2 weeks. And he deserves to win Coach of the Year. There are other good coaches. Kevin O'Connell has outperformed expectations more than anybody and any coach. And if you look at what he's done with Sam Darnold, he has now, I think, removed any doubt about himself as a quarterback savant. And that goes a long way in the minds of voters. If you can, as a head coach, find the way to get the best out of your quarterbacks, you are a valuable coach because every team is trying to maximize the play of their quarterback.
I think one of the significant topics this weekend, and perhaps it would be the A topic outside of the Vikings needing to win and then beat Detroit and get that 1 seed, like the co-host said, is the return for the Minnesota Vikings of Ivan Pace Jr. That's a big factor in this game. Now, Ivan missed the first game against Green Bay, And putting together some quick Pasadena City College related math, when Ivan Pace Jr. and Blake Cashman play together, all right, they've been together 6 games this year. Teams run for 63 yards a game.
That's amazing.
When Pace Jr. and Cashman are together, the most recent 4 that we had without Ivan Pace Jr., teams ran for 121 yards per game. So we double that sucker up. Now, getting those 2 together in this game is very important because this Josh Jacobs with 14 touchdowns, he's a different running back than what we saw week 4. I think he went for 9 carries, 51 yards. There are a string of bastard stats from the first matchup. Like Jordan Love threw 54 times most this season. That ain't going to happen this weekend unless they get down again. Jacobs only ran 9 times because the Vikings jumped up 28-0 in like 3 seconds. So that changed everything Green Bay did offensively. So this run defense against Josh Jacobs, man, that's got some A-topic to it.
So the Packers made the big move to let Aaron Jones go. We ended up getting him, which has worked out great for us. But they wanted a late season December, January, big-bodied back that could run on Lambeau Field on the frozen turf, and they got that in Josh Jacobs. And he's been great, and he's only gotten more powerful as the season has gone on. Coming into this game, Paul, Josh Jacobs had the luxury of not even playing in the second half of last week's game because the Saints were so bad and they were so far out of it.
Spencer Rattler,
that they rested Josh Jacobs in that game, and he comes in with fresh legs against the Vikings, and that becomes a huge, huge test for the entire script of this game will be Josh Jacobs against the Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace-led Vikings. Went together. They are the best run defense in the NFL. Statistically, the Vikings are. And then Josh Jacobs running as well as any back right now down the stretch. So that'll be a huge, huge part of this game is being able to contain him and play at the level that we're used to seeing when Pace and Cashman are on the field.
The closer we get to this game, the more I start to legitimately wonder how Green Bay is going to defend Minnesota's passing game. Now, in the first game, Jordan Addison had a couple of touchdowns. Justin Jefferson had one. Josh Oliver had one. And again, they jumped up 28-0. Then it was 28-7 at halftime. Then Love pretty much threw every single play, and he got them back in the game. But it's still that they still were a puncher's chance at best of coming back from that 28-7. They needed an onside kick late. They didn't get it. So this Vikings passing game right now, you know, if you think, because so many people want to talk about Sam Darnold, and rightfully so, that middle part of the season when the Vikings were at Jacksonville, and he threw those 3 picks trying to force it to Justin Jefferson. Everybody remember that, right? Technically, it was 4. Ronald Darby picked him off, but it was nullified due to a penalty. So that kind of was a bottom for Sam when it comes to figuring out where the bones are buried with the Minnesota Vikings offense. Then they eventually get to Chicago, and Jordan Addison goes for 162. TJ Hawkinson goes for 114, 109 in the second half and overtime, and Aaron Jones runs for more than 100. In that game, Justin Jefferson had 2 catches, including a 20-yarder in overtime, which was very important. Something opened in that game for the Minnesota Vikings passing game that has Sam seeing it as clearly as any quarterback in the NFL. Now, how I mesh it with the Green Bay pass defense and pass rush, a lot of respect for Rashawn Gary, a lot of respect for Kenny Clark. TJ Slayton is a very good interior defensive lineman. Edgerrin Cooper is a Texas A&M rookie. They've really hit on. And he's getting better game by game. But then you get back to the secondary. And really, to a man, trash talking aside, over the course of the game, I just can't see Eric Stokes and Keyshawn Nixon keeping up with Addison, Jefferson, Naylor, and this passing attack for the entire game. I just can't see it happening.
Jair Alexander has been ruled out of this game.
Right.
Dave Sinykin yesterday on KFAN said he thinks Alexander's played his last football in Green Bay. Thinks there's more to it than just the knee injury. Their safety, Evan Williams, also out. And their utility hybrid guy, Javon Bullard, who plays safety and slot, he may not play in this thing either. they're going to be down either 2 or 3 starters from their secondary against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor. There are going to be exploitable matchups in there. And Eric Stokes, Paul, was benched earlier this year for good reason. And he started about the first 5 games of the year for the Packers, and they were getting roasted. They got him to the bench, and that whole secondary got much better without Eric Stokes, the old addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
But now they're forced to put him back on the field. And to some degree, I just want to find where Eric Stokes is and throw that direction. So I'll trust any Viking wide receiver on Eric Stokes right now.
The Friday football feast is at Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up.
Standing room only. Look at that.
As fat as you did, PHAT. Sadly, I just got late news here. That's why I was looking at my phone. Chad Greenway's a late scratch. He has some stuff going on with his family. So Chad is a late scratch, and we apologize for that. Alec Lewis from The Athletic will be here at 10 o'clock. David Sinykin, the head cheese, he'll be here in the final hour. And with Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen, it's a border battle this weekend at 3:25 on KFAN, and we can't wait. Thank you very much for showing up today, and thank you for listening to KFAN. Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth for the Friday football feast. Yours truly battling my voice right now from something that bit me the last couple of days. And shout out to the nice lady who brought me these lozenges. Round of applause for her. I mean, that was some That was some quick twitch right there. If you had to walk over to Lunds and Byerly's to get those, but you're very nice for doing it. Thank you very much. So no Chad Greenway, PA in charge here. YA Young Alec will join us about 45 minutes from now. And about 30 minutes from now, we're going to get into the fantasy football feast. This will be the final fantasy football feast of the Friday football feast. And why would that be, Paul? Because there's another week left in the season, like when the Vikings play at Detroit. Yet this will be the final fantasy football feast into the week of penultimate games. And good morning.
Right, because no fantasy league should be playing in week 18. There are too many teams that are resting in week 18. The Chiefs will not play a meaningful game for another 3 weeks. And if they win that game, they're in the AFC Championship game. I mean, and they're hosting. Hey, what a primrose path for the Chiefs.
Right.
Really tired of the Chiefs. They deserve the success they've had, but can't somebody show up and beat them in a one-score game, please?
Who beats the Chiefs? I mean, who beats that poise with everything on the line in the biggest game?
Lamar Jackson does, and he will.
We'll see.
Lamar Jackson's getting over the hump this year. He has got it in him. It's just the mojo this year for him, and that team is different, Paul. And the right now, with the right, I'm reserving the right to change my prediction heading into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I've got Ravens going to the Super Bowl in the AFC.
Okay,
I think they will beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
What leads you to that outside of Lamar?
Well, here's the other part of it. They've had the second best run defense all year behind the Vikings.
Yeah,
their pass defense was awful for the first half of the year, and it's steadily getting good, really good. Now they can beat you air and ground. So now the run defense is good. It's great. The pass defense is good. Derrick Henry built for playoff weather, right? And then Lamar Jackson beat you through the air. I just feel like this is a Dan Barreiro copyright team without a weakness.
Yeah,
and
that Lamar Jackson beat you through the air part. I mean, like if you ship all in with plus money in the postseason, which you would get. I mean, you would have to be a little nervous about that Lamar Jackson passing part of the.
Why would I be when he leads the NFL in touchdown passes?
Because it's the regular season.
I know, but I don't care I don't care about past seasons. I care about this season. I don't think he's got the wilt in the moment gene. I really believe Lamar is going to step up now, and the rest of the team. I like the whole team. I like Derrick Henry running in January. Who wants to tackle Derrick Henry on a 19-degree day? Nobody. It's just I think this is a very, very good Ravens team and the most complete team in the AFC. So I'm picking them to win. The Chiefs have won all these low-scoring single-digit games.
Yeah.
And God bless them for it. I'm not taking anything away from them, but if you're really a 15-1 operation, like they 15-1 or 15-1 operation right now.
Yeah.
Right? Shouldn't your point differential be more than plus 90? I mean, shouldn't you be winning by more than 3.5 points a game? I don't know. It's just whatever it is, 5 points a game.
I see what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't see the killer gene in this Chiefs team.
Say you are a Houston Texans fan, okay?
And I am.
And all right, you're a Houston Texans fan, and it's Christmas Day, which is going to go into Christmas night.
Yeah.
And this is like the signature event for your family for the year. This Christmas game against the Baltimore Ravens. And then you get there and your team scores 2 points. Are you kidding me with that 2-point performance? Holy cow.
The Ravens have completely unraveled, Paul. CJ Stroud has gone backwards from the quarterback he was last year. And the big part of this is their offensive line is awful. Only the Patriots have a worse offensive line than Houston does. There is nowhere to run for Joe Mixon. There is no time in the pocket for C.J. Stroud. And then, of course, you lose Stephon Diggs, and then you lose Tank Dell for big parts of the season. That really hurts. Nico Collins is great, but there's still a one-receiver operation right now. And that has been a big problem. Their defense has played well. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter have been ferocious at the ends. And they've got one of the best emerging cornerbacks in the league in Darryl Stingley.
Yeah.
The Houston team should be better than it is, but it just isn't coming together, mostly because their offense just can't consistently move the ball, Paul.
And the health of these teams at this stage of the season is just so very pivotal. Like Charge talked about Jair Alexander, the corner for the Green Bay Packers. When they're not using safety Xavier McKinney, a corner, which they happen to do, and he's quite good, Alexander is their best corner when they're all healthy, and he hasn't played for a month and change.
Yeah.
So that factors into the game, but not really that much because they've won games without him for a long period of time now. And you think about the injuries the Kansas City Chiefs have had this year with Rashee Rice, and Pacheco recently came back, stuff like that. The Minnesota Vikings getting Ivan Pace Jr. back at this time. We'll go over that run defense scenario with Alec Lewis again and get a little deeper into it. Those 6 games Cashman and Pace Jr. Play together, the Vikings give up 63 rushing yards a game. And really, if you just not only take that, but you look at the totality of the team with Darisaw down, Cam Robinson in. Ingram benched, Reisner replaces. Then defensively with Cashman in and out, Pace in and out, Gilmore in and out, that they're amazingly healthy.
They are.
At just the perfect time. Wouldn't you agree?
It's remarkable right now. We're heading into week 17. The Saints have 7 members of their offense on IR. And Derek Carr's not on IR, and he's not available. That's really kind of 8.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions have 13 members of their defense on IR.
Yeah, no, season. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're down 23 guys. 13 are out for at least the regular season.
Right. And
unbelievable.
Just on defense.
Oh, just
on defense, Paul.
Damn.
So, and here come the Vikings rolling into a Week 17 game. We have one starter, Christian Darisaw, injured and not playing in this game.
Right.
That is an amazing luxury. And last year was largely like this as well, except for the Kirk injury, right? And JJ McCarthy, of course, got knocked out in the preseason this year. But I'm not counting him as a starter because Sam Darnold was going to be the starting quarterback for this team.
Right.
And obviously has remained the starter. So, last year very healthy, this year very healthy. I'm not that familiar with the training staff for the Vikings. My understanding is it's led by
Tyler
Williams.
Yeah.
I got to believe this isn't a fluke. I've got to believe that whatever Tyler Williams is doing...
He won a Super Bowl with O'Connell with the Rams. Yeah,
okay.
So he and some others were part of that group that came over here.
And they got to be doing something right when, at this stage, you play this many games, 15 games heading into 16, and you've got one player on IR. Right. I mean, it's just it's remarkable to think that whatever you're doing has resulted in this, and I don't think it's a fluke at this point.
Yeah.
When you look at how healthy this team has been last year, this year, and it's a luxury to be able, and a huge advantage to roll into a Week 17 matchup. And if you were to ask me for the single most important advantage the Vikings have over the Packers, it's health. You know, we just mentioned earlier, Packers maybe without 3 of their starters in the secondary. The Vikings are missing Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah.
That's it. And that could be the single biggest difference in a potential Viking win on Sunday.
If you ever get bored and you want to, because you can find this, team injury reports, let's say during the 8-game winning streak for the Minnesota Vikings, you go back and look at the players who start Wednesday as like either did not practice or limited, and then Thursday most likely limited, and then they play on Sunday. The key here is the players, because that's the tell, that's the honest sharing that these players have nagging injuries. Like, let's say Andrew Van Ginkel and injury du jour.
Yeah.
So limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, full on Friday, plays very well on Sunday. The point here is the Tyler and his staff have, I think, done an amazingly good job patching together and keeping those who have pushed through weeks, if not months, with little nagging injuries, that potentially could escalate and get really bad. Then all of a sudden you lose them for a little while. These guys and staffs like this are MVPs for teams because they keep that they minimize the damage with, like, say, Reichard, Pace, Cashman, things like that.
Yeah.
Darrisaw, there's nothing you could do about that. They'll minimize that damage, but the players who play a lot, keeping them together in one piece up to the game. So we ain't got to go full throttle on Wednesday. We ain't got to go full throttle on Thursday, but we're going to step it up a little bit. Friday, they generally come back a little bit. Saturday, they have their mock game, then they play. It's the crescendo up to the game with those who are battling little injuries. This staff right here is really good.
They're really good, Paul. And we don't know specifically what they are doing for these players, but the results speak for themselves. This Viking team does not suffer very many injuries. The lingering injuries end up coming back quickly, or players play through them. They don't become more severe. So it's working. It's become a huge advantage for this Viking team. And does Jalen Redmond count? And do we know his status for this week?
He'll play.
He'll play.
Yeah, I believe he'll play.
That's the impression I had too.
Yep. Hitman coming back. Ivan Pace Jr. coming back, and with Redmond, I mean, he's part of that run. He's part of that run defense bit.
He is.
He's a little twitchy inside, where he has some tackles for loss, and I believe he has a sack. But that, again, it's like looking at the last 2 games, the Bears and Seattle.
Yeah.
And how badly do we need this person in this spot for this game?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it seems like it has some calculated risk to it. All right. Let's go ahead and lay off him and wait for the next one, because we feel we still can win the game. I just think they've been really, really good at that this year. Let him play. Well, Jalen Redmond had a concussion, so maybe he didn't pass the protocol. But they're just an assortment of players on this team who just, again, it's right there for everybody to look at. If you go back X amount of weeks or months, look at the injury report on Wednesday and Thursday, and then look at the games those guys played over the weekend.
Yeah.
I think that plays into what you're talking about.
And two more Packer injuries that we haven't mentioned that could be a big factor in this game, Paul.
What happened?
Christian Watson may not play in this game. He got knocked out of last week's game, came back, then he got knocked out again.
Yeah.
And if he can't go, and his history against Minnesota is Pretty big. We'll remember his rookie debut game where he dropped that open bomb against the Vikings. It's going to be the first catch of his career.
Yeah. Well, that was Kevin O'Connell's first game.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin O'Connell's first game was at U.S. Bank Stadium against the Green Bay Packers. We have an offensive-minded coach who likes to throw the ball a lot. And last time we saw him on TV in a game that mattered was the Super Bowl, and he was wearing blue and gold. So now he's with us. They roll down the field and score. LaFleur dials up Christian Watson on a double move. With all due respect, because I'm fond of Patrick Peterson, but he was right at the end of his career. Watching Patrick Peterson try to turn his hips on that play and run with Watson was akin to watching a ship try to turn around in Lake Superior. It just took forever, and then Watson dropped it. But that is interesting that, to secure the 1 seed, you obviously have to win this weekend. But Kevin O'Connell's first game was against the Green Bay Packers. And then if you just look at some of the things, some of the accolades that he's stacking during the course of what isn't even the end of 3 years. Like, for instance, the Vikings under O'Connell are 26-5, I believe. 26-5 or 26-9 in one-score games. All right, he hasn't even completed 3 years. So the first year, you get 18 games with the playoffs. You get 17 last year, and we're 15 into it now. So a majority of the games are one-score games.
Yeah.
That record in one-score games for O'Connell is already second best in the history of the NFL. For those who have coached at least 25 games, it's a lot of games.
By winning percentage?
By winning percentage in one-score games.
Yeah.
Only coach in the history of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, granted, Bud Grant and others dealt with 14-game seasons. I understand that. But still, he's the only one to have won 13 games twice in the history of the team. I mean, we're really onto something good here, man.
If Christian Watson can't go, it takes the deep vertical speed out of the Packers offense, and it lets you play closer to the line of scrimmage. Those safeties don't have to be in the too high shell as much.
Yeah.
They can cheat a few yards closer to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It takes some of the dimension away, the deep dimension away from this offense. And then Tucker Kraft may not go, their starting tight end.
Really?
And that's something that they're watching closely.
Wow, he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL.
That's a big statement right there.
Tucker Kraft is, if you watch Tucker Kraft protect the quarterback and then watch him lead when they run Josh Jacobs. I mean, he is an absolute monster. You see, last year, it widely was considered that that was one of the deepest and great tight end drafts in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really gone to bearing its fruit that way at this stage, but we'll still let him play for a little while. You got Kincaid, Musgrave, Kraft, and so on. Well, I mean, Tucker's the one I would want out of that. If I'm to look at all of them from that draft last year,
Laporta is tricky. He's in that too. Yes.
Well, yeah, Laporta would be the one I would want, and then Kraft right behind him. I knew I was missing a name. So he's underrated, but I guess I didn't look at the injury report closely enough to know that he may be in question. Now, Jaden Reed. For Vikings fans and for me, he gives anxiety.
He's a problem.
He gives anxiety.
He should.
He went for like 139 and 1 in the first game, and he just the way they use him out of the backfield, and he's so difficult to find in Where's Waldo like fashion. Jaden Reed, he can get down the field a little bit too, but I agree with you on that Watson take.
Jaden Reed is their slot receiver, and where they like to run Jaden Reed. They like to do the sweep runs. They like to they like the bubble screen, like to throw to him at or near the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And they like to just put him from the slot. They like to just put him out into running routes. Now, where this is very notable for the Vikings are getting killed by slot receivers, Paul. And Jaden Reed's the next one up. And as a reminder, when these teams played, was it week 3 or week 4 that we faced?
4.
In week 4, when the Vikings played the Packers, Jaden Reed went 7 catches, 139 yards on a touchdown.
Yeah.
Here's what slot receivers have done to the Vikings in the past 4 games.
Does Dontavian Wicks run out of the slot much?
No.
Okay, because he scored 2 touchdowns in that game.
He did have 2 touchdowns in that game. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ray McLeod, Keenan Allen twice. Mm-hmm. These are the slot receivers the Vikings have faced in the last month. Their average game, 13 targets,
Damn.
8 catches, 90 yards, and nearly a full touchdown per game.
Yeah.
The Vikings have got to get better at stopping, not even good. We're talking about Ray McLeod here. And Jaden Reed might be the best out of all of these. He's probably the best after the catch out of all of these.
I like Jackson Smith and Jigba.
He's very good.
I'd heard you on Fantasy Football Weekly talk about him a lot. You did a wonderful deep dive on him last game because he is slot exclusive.
He is.
And I didn't really know that until we got there. And I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to him, watching him live and stuff like that. He's the NFL slot machine this year, the most profitable slot machine. It was like into our game, it was 964 yards or something exclusively from the slot.
Amazing.
So and his yard, he's a very, very gifted wide receiver. But like Reed, they're both second-year guys, so they those teams hit on players.
Reed has he's got that big lower body that lets him break tackles. Most slot receivers aren't tackle breakers. Really, you're comparable for Jaden Reed as Deebo Samuel, as somebody with the ball that can make a ton of damage. In fact, Jaden Reed ranks number 2 in the NFL behind only Deebo Samuel in yards after the catch. So this Jaden Reed matchup against a team that has not defended the slot well could go a long way toward deciding ultimately who wins this game.
What do you think they do with Jefferson?
No, I'm disappointed Jair Alexander is not going to be playing in this game, Paul, because that would have been a really fun matchup.
Yeah.
Because we love to see how those two play out. I believe it's going to be a ton of zone looks for him. I don't think they're going to put any one man on him. I think he's going to get double and triple teamed. You're going to see a lot of rolling bracket coverage to him. And what the Vikings are doing now so well is, okay, if you're going to take Justin Jefferson, you're going to put 2 men on. If you're going to shade a linebacker into his part of the zone, fine. We'll take our chances one-on-one with Jordan Addison. And Jordan Addison has evolved so much that he'll go beat your single coverage. But I don't think the Packers are going to play really any man on Justin Jefferson this game, Paul.
Right.
I don't think they can afford to. They don't have the talent to do it without Jair Alexander. And then you add in the other liabilities with the other injuries they've got. And I think they've got to go zone and just try to keep the plays in front of them.
Now, from the rest of the NFL standpoint, with games being very important, Seattle had to win last night, found a way to win that slog, 6-3.
That was gross.
So now they need Arizona to beat the LA Rams, which could happen. I mean, because it's a home. How about this? And this is legitimate too. Yeah, the Rams can lose this game this weekend because they're at home.
Yeah,
which means. Fans, if the Cardinals travel,
right?
I'm not sure.
Do they? I don't know. Do Cardinals fans travel?
But you know what I'm saying.
They're knocked out of the playoffs. Yes, they do.
You come out for a massive game, and then the other team runs out of the tunnel, and you just hear a super loud ovation. You're like, yeah, cool. They like us. They really like us. Oh wait, they're cheering for the other team. So Arizona can win that game, but I think the Rams are going to win. Other than that, there's not much at the bottom of the conference postseason standings, where outside of punchers' chances and or long shots like Cincinnati, Denver. I mean, if Cincinnati can beat Denver, which it can, and then win again, and Denver loses again, then you get Joe Burrow probably in the playoffs. So, but the top part of it, the 1 seed in the NFC and those chasing Kansas City. I mean, it's quite compelling.
Well, you know what's turned into some compelling viewing, Paul, is the top of the NFC South, as now Michael Penix is trying to rally the Falcons, who've got the tiebreaker over the Bucs. And that's turned into a really compelling showdown. Now, they're not playing each other.
Nope.
But, tracking how that finishes over these final 2 games will be a lot of fun.
And Baker hosts Carolina.
Yes.
Well, that's not free money.
It's not anymore.
That's not a free pass against these Panthers. And then, of course, the NFL has Penix Jr. against Jaden Daniels on Sunday Night Football after Baker's game has been decided.
All right, so a couple of things on that. First, Michael Penix looked really good, Paul. So poised. He looked like this was his 20th NFL start, not his first. He was able to deliver accurate long passes that Kirk was simply not able to make. And then I got to mention the Kyle Pitts interception. Did you happen to see this?
Mm-mm.
All right, so
Pitts threw a pass?
No.
Oh.
Penix goes back to pass. He's throwing about 20 yards downfield near the goal line on the right side of the field.
Yeah.
He throws a perfect pass into the breadbasket for Kyle Pitts. Pitts gets two hands on it and then turns and hands the ball off.
Sounds like a
to
fixed
defender.
game.
And it goes as an interception on Penix, and the only interception that he had when he otherwise was perfect, and it was a perfect pass to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Baker Mayfield playing the Panthers. These teams met a month ago, and it was a statement game for Bryce Young.
Oh, wow.
So when they met a month ago, Bryce Young is starting to play well, but at that point, everything looked like it was going to go the Bucs' way. But Bryce Young and Adam Thielen have these dynamite connections. This is the game where Thielen makes one of the best catches in the all season on the left sideline. Then he scored a touchdown in the back of the end zone, which they reversed and shouldn't have, and it was a touchdown. Mm-hmm. He got jobbed on that. But it goes to overtime, Paul. Panthers, Bucs go to overtime. Bryce Young delivers a bunch of passes. They get the ball at down to about the 25 of the Bucs, and they are set up for the game-winning field goal.
Oh yeah,
Chuba Hubbard fumbled. Chuba Hubbard fumbled.
Who's had the year of his life.
I know he's been great. They gave him a contract extension, and it erased a win for Bryce Young, in which he had really earned a win in overtime over the Bucs.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how this rematch is no sure thing for the Bucs, and it really isn't. Their whole secondary decimated by injury, including Antoine Winfield. Unclear if he's going to be able to come back after missing a couple of games.
Yeah.
I believe they have 5 members of their secondary that are out right now.
You're listening to the Friday Football at Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth on KFAN. Fantasy football championships taking place this weekend. I would imagine your advice, your suggestions would start with don't overthink things, right? Don't it's not as easy as go with the one who brung you, but don't overthink things into a money weekend, right?
Well, Paul, I don't work that way. If you give me the chance to overthink something, I absolutely will do it.
That's a good point.
Here's who should overthink things in the championship week of your fantasy football league.
That's very fair.
If you are an underdog, if you're looking at this, you go, if everything plays to form, and you may already be an underdog with the 3 games I've already played.
Yeah.
You might already be in a situation where I know I'm an underdog. If you are the underdog, and you're going to lose 8 times out of 10 if this thing plays out the way it should on Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
So, in other words, if you are contesting Mahomes, Henry, and Kelsey,
Jackson and Kelsey, right, now you got a problem.
Yeah, right.
Or if you'd started Zach Charbonnet, who I loved going into last night's game because everybody was running all over Chicago.
Yeah.
And
I thought that game would be higher scoring last night, quite honestly. I know it was raining hard, but there was no wind.
No wind. I was very disappointed that Seattle gave up on the running game so early when the Bears are such a bad run defense. And they were running pretty well early, and then they just turned it into let's pass the whole game, and they barely scratched out a victory. I thought it was a terrible game plan by Ryan Grubb. But
Charbonnet had bad numbers, right?
He ended up with like 60 rushing yards and like 3 catches for 30 yards, something like that. And I thought he was sitting on a 2-touchdown, like a 2-touchdown bonanza with 140 yards.
The unders are 3 for 3 with the first 3 games this week.
The scenario where you should panic in your fantasy league is you're down by a lot already. Maybe you played Zach Charbonnet and you didn't get anything. Maybe you played any bear and you didn't get anything. Maybe you played Jackson Smith and Jigba and you got a modest box score. And you've got a problem Well, okay, now what? You can look to your bench. You might have help on your bench.
Right.
If you're in a more desperate spot than even that, though, Paul,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a couple of quarterback wide receiver hookups that are waiver wire guys. You can hit the waiver wire this week on these guys. And again, this is only if it's a desperate time.
Yeah.
You need to have a quarterback who's going to throw 2 touchdowns to your wide receiver, and they have to be available on the waiver wire.
Wow.
It looks like this. Option number 1.
Wow.
Bryce Young throwing to
Leggett.
Xavier Leggett.
Yeah, that's I was going to bring that up.
The marble-mouthed Xavier Leggett. Leggett is returning from injury, probably available in your league. I'd prefer Adam Thielen, but he's probably rostered because he's been great.
Yeah.
Leggett probably unrostered. The Tampa Bay secondary, as we mentioned last segment, all injury ravaged. So there's an opportunity for Bryce Young. And by the way, Bryce Young has run in touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 games.
Wow.
So what if Bryce runs in another one? What if he throws 2 to your guy, Xavier Leggett?
Yeah.
That's how you could end up with a big box score. Let me give you one more.
Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson.
Well, I don't.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I would like them to be available. I don't know that they are. Mason Rudolph.
Oh, geez.
Right, so they're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's allowed the most fantasy points to opposing passers.
Rudolph Boyd to get all the money?
Well, how about Rudolph to Nick Westbrook-Akine, who's got the crazy deep passes.
Yeah.
He's got the 2 touchdown games already. Or
I think he had one for 90 against us.
I think he did. Yes, he did, as a matter of fact. Or the last 2 weeks, his tight end, Chiga Okonkwo, has caught 17 passes from Mason Rudolph. Maybe your tight end is not necessarily sitting on a big game. So those are 2 desperation plays. If you're already in a big hole, you're likely to lose. Why not go make a move? And that's, those are your Hail Mary options right there.
Do you believe Jordan Love is on a majority or fair amount of teams playing in championship rounds?
No.
Okay.
He's not.
Well, I mean, right. So right there, they if you believe with Cashman and Pace, the Jacobs bit's going to come back to the pack a little bit. Now you got to believe that but it's still. They still have done such a good job, even when the run is taken away, that the threat is there to open things around Love.
Right.
Well, remember, Wicks has gotten hot of late, and he had 2 against us early in the season.
He did.
Love Wicks.
Look, it's possible.
Trying to get
it
all
is,
the money.
especially if Christian Watson doesn't go. Dontavian Wicks is a legitimate fantasy starter, and he picks up those deeper routes that Christian Watson would normally run.
Yeah.
For Love, the reason he has not powered teams to a fantasy championship to this point, other than Brett Blakemore, who apparently is starting Love, is this. They're blowing out all their opponents, and he's not passing. And so over the last 8 games, Paul, Love is averaging 25 passes a game.
Right.
That's just not enough volume for him to be a high-end fantasy producer at 25 passes a game.
Yeah.
How low is 25 passes a game? And again, this is the last 8 games. This is half a season for Love. 25 passes a game would make you the lowest volume quarterback in the league.
Wow.
That's how bad it is.
And he's also taken the fewest sacks, just 11 of full-time starters.
That's it all season?
11. He missed
nuts.
He missed 2 games. I'm like, who cares? 11 over the course of 13? Damn, that's a bad.
Sam Howell took 5 and a quarter 2 weeks ago.
Spencer Rattler already has more sacks this year than Love has taken in 15 games.
Right. That is unbelievable.
I got to hit you with this because it's important. We might do some fantasy later because it's championship weekend and people are looking to scoop chips. So with the Eagles, all right, like say you got Saquon, say you have A.J. Brown, say you have Devontae Smith, and Hurts is off the concussion, and there's no guarantee he's going to play. And if he does play, maybe he's a little woozy. Who knows?
Right.
How do you handle your Eagles given the Hurts situation?
It looks like Hurts isn't going to go, but the concussion protocol is murky, so we don't know that for sure. Kenny Pickett yesterday said he's going to play through his rib injury. If he can't or he gets knocked out, they're down to Tanner McKee, who has never thrown an NFL pass.
Right.
So with Hurts out, and Kenny Pickett, Paul, last week looked bad. I mean, it was he played almost the whole game, and he threw for about 180 yards, had a couple of picks, I believe. I didn't think Pickett looked good. He brings into serious doubt the viability of Devonta Smith and, to a lesser degree, A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I'd probably still start Brown, but if I got other better players, I might not. Devonta Smith gets real fringy, and he has been a very inconsistent producer with Hurts, and the guy that might, in sneaky fashion, get helped a little bit, Saquon Barkley, because Kenny Pickett ain't running the tush-push.
Right.
I can tell you that much.
Right.
And Saquon Barkley, who has been unbelievably good, he's had 14 touchdowns erased by Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's one a game. If he gets back that one, that would be awfully nice for Saquon Barkley's fantasy managers who likely are in the championship game.
Yeah, Philly's like a touchdown favorite in that game. Philly is no bargain in this game, simply because they don't do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it ever. They just never do. And this time of the year gets a little dicey for Philly, specifically with a locker room that may have some fracture to it. Finally here, sitting good players because they're hooking your favorite team. All right, I was chatting with somebody a couple of days ago who's in line to win a gi. And I think he and the second place person in super special fashion arranged for a cut or whatever, but nevertheless, the using players that have viability who have helped you all season. But I don't want to use them because they're playing my favorite team this weekend. I don't want to root for them against my favorite team. That's just weird.
It's weird. I could never do that. Even if I've got Josh Jacobs, I'm playing Josh Jacobs against my favorite team, and I'm just hoping my Vikings win 35-34 and Josh Jacobs scores 4 touchdowns. That's totally valid. And there's you gain, and this is what this person isn't thinking about, Paul. You gain the emotional hedge. If the Vikings lose, and that probably means Josh Jacobs helped me, and helped me win the championship. Therefore, I've got an emotional hedge built in. Yeah. So I don't work that way at all.
Let's mix it up with Alec Lewis from The Athletic. Chat about border battle, I believe 129-325 KFAN this weekend. You're listening to the Friday Football Feast.